and I'm going to do it right now.
She stands still, draped in a gold gown, fireworks lighting up the sky, the crowd losing its mind. Beyoncé, untouchable, flawless. The Super Bowl stage wasn't just hers, it bowed to her. Every move, every breath, timed like a machine. It was perfection, or was it? That moment is etched into pop culture like a holy image. But now, Jason Lee is pulling at the seams of that golden picture. Because behind the cheers and flashing lights, there's a quieter story. One the Carter family has worked overtime to silence, and it doesn't start with Grammys, Ivy Park, or world tours. No, this story starts somewhere deeper, with two names barely whispered, two faces rarely shown, two lives guarded like government files, Rumi and Sir. Especially Sir. What's so delicate, so explosive, that even Beyoncé won't speak his name aloud? Jason says he knows, and what he's hinting at could shatter the entire illusion.
I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
For years, fans have asked the same question in hushed corners of Reddit threads and Stan group chats. Why is Sir practically invisible? Why is Rumi ushered onto stages, into campaigns, and onto album tracks, while Sir's presence feels almost mythological? One former associate of Parkwood Entertainment claims off the record that Beyoncé's team has a full-blown internal protocol just to manage Sir's visibility. Think scheduled social media drops, staged paparazzi leaks, and here's the real twist: selective medical privacy arrangements, locked behind strict NDAs. If you think that sounds like fan paranoia, buckle up, because Jason Lee says he's seen the papers. Sealed, confidential medical documents that, if real, allege something Beyoncé has never publicly admitted. Sir is on the autism spectrum.
She doesn't know.
Beyoncé doesn't know.
Yeah, I don't think Beyoncé, they're not going to share that with her.
Knows. I got the
people
receipts.
know.
I still have the receipts.
And that's just the spark. Sources inside LA's elite wellness scene claim that some of the richest families are using what they call invisible clinics. These are ultra-private therapeutic centers that operate quietly under concierge care. Everything is wrapped in strict NDAs, and even the therapists are legally bound to stay silent. Security is said to be tighter than the Grammy Green Room, and guess who's been spotted arranging high-clearance visits to one of these clinics near Bel Air? Someone very familiar, a former assistant from Beyoncé's inner circle. This is the same person who once handled weekly schedules for the twins. That exact phrase came straight from a leaked itinerary screenshot. It's one of many documents Jason Lee claims he's been collecting since 2022.
Beyoncé and Jay-Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them.
Now here's the real question. Are we looking at a protective mother trying to shield her son from a harsh spotlight? Or is this a power couple so deeply obsessed with image control, they've chosen to erase parts of their own truth? That's the uncomfortable conversation. Because while the Carter camp stays completely silent, Jason Lee is turning up the heat. He's not just dropping hints anymore, he's naming names. He's flashing corners of envelopes, time-stamped pages, pieces of what he claims are real medical documents tied to private specialists in Brentwood. We're talking pediatric neurologists, sensory experts, even behavioral analysts, allegedly all coordinated through behind-the-scenes players connected to Roc Nation's legal team. If this is fake, it's a masterclass performance. But if it's real, the fallout could make the Solange elevator incident look like a casual brunch story. And it gets darker. We've spoken to 3 independent insiders, and they all say the same thing. Beyoncé's team has been quietly floating sympathy narratives, not direct confessions, of course, just enough to set the stage for a possible humanizing reveal. The kind of message that says, even the most perfect families face challenges. One veteran publicist described it as reputation insurance, a soft landing in case Jason's bombshells go public. And the timing? Yeah, it's raising eyebrows. Some believe the recent launch of Sir Davis is more than a branding move. It's a calculated Trojan horse, a way to introduce Sir's name into the public eye without saying too much. Too cynical? Then take a look at the marketing. The Davis in my bones. Come on.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
So while the public clinks glasses to a moonshine legacy,
Golden Carter legacy, Jason Lee is preparing to drop what he calls the certified receipts. He hasn't released full scans yet, but his tone has changed. He sounds more sure, more direct, less teasing, more warning. Meanwhile, Beyoncé's team has started moving quietly behind the scenes. They've reached out to friendly media outlets, asking them to monitor and flag any stories linking Sir to health rumors. That exact phrase, health rumors, came from a direct email sent by a known Carter PR handler. We've seen it. And all of this brings us to the forgotten half of this twin story. Rumi. She's the twin the world is allowed to see. She's popped up at the Super Bowl. She's modeled for Ivy Park. She's even featured musically on Cowboy Carter. One image, one message. A natural star. With her mother's charm and Blue Ivy's discipline. But according to insiders, things are not as perfect as they seem. There's a growing tension behind the scenes. Rumi is reportedly being groomed for stardom while silently carrying the pressure of being labeled the easier twin. That exact word, easier, was overheard at an industry event. A family friend used it while describing how the Carter team handles the twins. Rumi is just easier to work with. But easier for what? Photos don't lie. Rumi is always smiling. She appears confident at red carpets and backstage moments. Those viral Super Bowl shots with Jay-Z and Grandma Tina told a perfect story. But if you look closer, Sir is nearly always missing or carefully kept out of the frame. Some event footage shows security subtly stepping in when Sir is nearby, quietly guiding cameras away. Tina Knowles once gave a casual explanation. She said, "He's quiet. He loves books and electronics." But instead of calming speculation, it only stirred more questions. Especially because Beyoncé, who's opened up about her own mental health, has never once spoken publicly about her son's development.
I ain't worried. I ain't going nowhere. I'm telling you right now, I'm not playing this industry game.
And here's the kicker. Jason Lee claims one of the leaked documents isn't just a diagnosis. It's a full behavioral and cognitive summary prepared for insurance purposes. The document allegedly lists specific accommodations requested for Sir in school settings. If it's real, it means the Carters not only know about his condition, but have been actively managing his needs in private for years. There's nothing wrong with that. Every family deserves privacy, especially when it comes to their children. But the problem is the secrecy and the lengths they've gone to maintain a completely different public image. In a world where celebrities build empires on being real, at what point does hiding the truth stop being protection and start becoming a lie?
Oh, no, that was it. No, when I get nervous, I tell the truth.
What really raises eyebrows is how this could reshape public understanding of autism in celebrity culture. If the most powerful couple in entertainment has allegedly gone to these lengths to shield their son's reality, what message does that send to every family trying to normalize neurodiversity? One media strategist we spoke to called it a potential flashpoint, a reckoning. Because if these documents surface and the Carters stay silent, it'll be read as shame. And shame, especially in 2025, is a brand liability. Even Ye, in his usual reckless style, sensed the pressure point. His now deleted tirade targeting the twins wasn't just cruel, it was calculated. He went for the jugular because he knew there was something fragile there. He could have taken aim at Beyoncé's music, Jay-Z's Super Bowl deals, even Ivy Park's fading buzz. But instead, he brought up Sir and Rumi's mental capacity. Why? Because he knew that was the pressure valve, the one topic no one talks about. The Carter family's deepest, most tightly sealed chamber.
Think about that. The most Grammys, never won Album of the Year. That doesn't work.
And now that chamber is being pried open, not by some explosive tabloid story, but by a slow drip of whispers, subtle document leaks, and one very loud former Hollywood Unlocked CEO who says he's only just begun. The most explosive of his claims is that the documents reveal not just an autism diagnosis, but also the exact timeline of when it was discovered. If true, this means the Carters have known since the twins were toddlers and have carefully crafted their public image around that reality ever since. We're told the documents include references to controlled social settings, adaptive communication techniques, and even specialized school arrangements made under assumed names. Yes, you heard that right. According to an education consultant familiar with elite prep schools in Westside LA, Sir may be enrolled under an alias to keep the press away. That might sound extreme until you remember these are the same parents who trademarked all 3 of their kids' names before they could even walk. If Jason Lee decides to release those files publicly, the shockwave won't just center around Sir. It will target everything, image, legacy, and the entire Carter empire built on the promise of authenticity. Because let's be honest, from Blue Ivy's early Grammy wins to Beyoncé's heartfelt interviews about motherhood, we've all bought into the picture-perfect Carter family. But what if the centerpiece of that image, the twins, have been ghost-written from the start? And what if one of those ghosts carries a diagnosis Beyoncé's team has spent millions trying to keep buried? Still, for all the leaked reports and quiet rumors, the loudest silence in this entire story doesn't come from the Carters. It comes from everyone around them. Because while Jason Lee drops breadcrumb after breadcrumb and fans race to connect the dots, there's something even deeper happening underneath. It's the industry's silence pact, an unspoken, unwritten code among A-listers, executives, influencers, and so-called friends, people who've stood on the same yacht decks, at the same private parties, and the same pre-Grammy brunches hosted by Beyoncé and Jay-Z, and witnessed things they will never speak of.
If we get to the bottom of Tupac's when that is finally revealed, 15 other will be revealed with it. And you will find that they were all committed by the same 2 people, father and son.
We've traced the guest lists. We know who's been in those rooms. From stylists with behind-the-scenes access to publicists who have booked front-row seats for the Carter family's most public moments. These aren't strangers. They're the ones who've watched Rumi flourish in the spotlight while Sir is quietly guided to the background. And yet, not one of them, not a single celebrity has spoken publicly about the obvious imbalance. Not when asked, not when nudged, not even when Ye crossed a line and dragged the twins into one of his wildest social media rants. And maybe that silence is the biggest clue of all, because Ye doesn't fire shots at random. He follows patterns. His attacks, especially the disturbing ones aimed at Sir and Rumi, weren't just chaotic outbursts. They were calculated warnings. We spoke to 2 former insiders who described Ye's Carter rants not as jealousy, but as strategic chaos. Moves meant to rattle the silence and shake up those protecting secrets. His now infamous post questioning the twins' mental capacity was deleted within minutes, but it was already too late. It exploded through private group chats and insider DMs. And that's when people in the industry, people who've stayed quiet for years, began admitting something chilling. Ye went there because he knew it was real.
Obviously, it's subjective because, it's music and it's opinion-based. But, some things.
So, why the silence? Fear, pure and simple. The Carters aren't just celebrities, they're institutions with brand empires, political ties, and cultural power that reaches from Silicon Valley to the White House. This isn't just influence, it's infrastructure. Beyoncé's presence is so tightly protected that her collaborators don't just sign contracts, they sign NDAs, thicker than Oscar scripts. One source told us a backup dancer was reprimanded just for mentioning the twins' names in a private group chat. Another, a former assistant, says they were fired after simply asking why Sir missed a family photo shoot. The message is crystal clear: speak, and you're out. But beyond the fear and silence, there's a quieter betrayal, one that hides in plain sight. Beyoncé has spent years positioning herself as a champion of inclusion, neurodiversity, and empowerment. She's released anthems for the outcasts and the misunderstood. She's praised mental strength and Black excellence across every global platform. But when it comes to her own son's alleged truth, she's locked the door. No acknowledgement, no conversation. Just flawless images, staged sisterhood, and curated perfection. And that raises one uncomfortable question. Is it still advocacy if it never starts at home?
And I'm not saying allegedly.
Oh. Okay.
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston.
Now let's talk about legacy. Jay-Z has always been fixated on the idea of building something bigger than himself. I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man. What started as a clever lyric became a family mission statement. His most recent interviews focus on fatherhood, time, and showing up for his kids. But behind the scenes, we're hearing a different story. Insiders say Jay-Z wasn't present during some of Sir's earliest developmental milestones. He was touring, launching Tidal, and closing billion-dollar deals. And when the diagnosis, if the diagnosis is real, arrived, things reportedly got tense. 2 former Roc Nation staffers say there were closed-door meetings about Sir's future, specifically whether his condition should be incorporated into the Carter brand or kept entirely hidden. They chose the second option. And now, that decision is coming back to haunt them, because the age of flawless PR is fading. We're in the era of raw visibility and truth-telling, and Beyoncé's Renaissance era was supposed to be her rebirth, her moment of transparency. But how honest can that message be if one of her deepest truths remains locked away? Rumi is featured on songs. Blue Ivy wins Grammys and speaks on stage. But Sir? Sir is a shadow. A name on a birth certificate, a blurry face in a holiday photo, a child who might be carrying the most powerful story the Carters have never told, and fans are beginning to notice.
And fans are noticing.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyoncé.
That's why their latest pivot is raising eyebrows. Look closely and you'll see the signs of panic mode rollout. Candid family photos leaked at just the right moment. More screen time for Rumi in polished promo. Content. Soft mentions of Sir starting to appear, but only in controlled settings. Even the new brand Sir Davis feels like a gentle push toward visibility without ever addressing the real issue. One PR strategist we spoke to called it emotional laundering, the attempt to appear inclusive while still hiding what truly matters. In other words, a calculated hypocrisy, and that hypocrisy is starting to ripple through the fan base. The debates are already heating up. Is this parental protection, or is it quiet erasure? Is the silence around Sir an act of love or a PR strategy that's gone too far? Parents of neurodiverse children are beginning to speak up. They once saw Beyoncé as a symbol of strength and modern motherhood. Now they're asking where that strength is when it comes to her own son, because representation matters. But it can't just be borrowed. It has to be lived. It has to be seen. Which brings us to the final, unavoidable truth. The documents, the sightings, the cover-ups. None of it will stay hidden forever. You can seal files. You can silence friends. You can blacklist questions from press interviews. But the truth? It always finds a way through the cracks. And right now, those cracks are widening because Jason Lee isn't backing down, because Ye already broke the seal, and because too many people have seen too much for this story to stay buried. So what happens when the dam breaks? When the receipts go public and Beyoncé's team can't spin the story anymore? What happens when Sir no longer just a blurry name becomes a real person in the eyes of the world? Not through filters, but through truth. Will the Carter Empire finally come clean? Or will they double down and risk being seen not as protectors, but as gatekeepers of a carefully crafted illusion? And we leave you with this. If the perfect image was always just a mask, what else has been hiding behind it? How long can the most powerful couple in pop culture keep the truth from rising to the surface? And what will it cost them when it finally does? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is this silence, protection, or performance? Until next time, keep your eyes open and your theories sharp, because this story is far from over.